Welcome to another live edition, or should I say, a special live edition of the 1901 podcast. Special being that we're actually able to live stream this on a Saturday morning because the game that we are addressing was played on Thursday night. And much to our chagrin, we're here to talk about another loss as opposed to another win. I'm Ken Rashad, joined by Thomas Griffin, a former G-man and defensive great. Before we get into the show, though, if you would, feel free to visit the 1901podcast.com. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, and by all means, feel free to make a donation. It will help us quite a bit and go a long ways in helping to grow this endeavor. And and all else that goes along with that. So, Griff, as I indicated in the graphic, the Tigers got dog bitten by Alabama A&M 22-17. And I still say that the loss to Bethune-Cookman was probably the most embarrassing in the school's history because of all that we witnessed with that game. This particular loss is I don't know if it's the latest one. I don't know if it's as bad as the one, but there are an awful lot of similarities. Maybe because this team, A&M, probably isn't as bad as Bethune-Cookman, and with respect to wins and losses. I don't think there was anything necessarily surprising about what we witnessed with A&M. I mean, we indicated before this game started, when we kind of previewed this last week, we talked about how, for whatever reason, and whatever you might say about Connell Maynard, that for whatever reason, as has been the case with A&M during the course of this year, they are a second half team. And for whatever reason, they can score points in bunches. We knew that. And as was the case, I think we had something like a 17, was it a 22 or 7? What was the lead? Was it 22-3 or something like that?
No, it was 17-3 before halftime. Well, we went into halftime 17-6, and we'll talk about that critical period of time, which allowed for the 3 points before halftime.
It was pretty bad.
It was.
Let me see. It was make sure I get this right here. Okay. I know we got shut out second half.
Yes. We did.
I want to make sure I get the details right. Okay. So it was that's what it was. So it was 17-3 at one point, but then A&M scored a field goal at the end of the first half to make it 17-6 at the half. And then went on in the third quarter. There was the Keenan Hambrick, that 34-yard touchdown pass. It made the score 17-14. And then there was another score, the field goal, which made it 17-17. And then there was a safety. It made it 19-17. And then, of course, the touchdown that eventually, not touchdown, but the field goal that made it 22-17. So we literally did not score a point at all in the second half of that game, and thus we are where we are. So, Griff, as I always do, man, let me give me your thoughts on what we witnessed on Thursday night.
Well, let me first cover the positive. The positive is that the G-men all these games have been competitive. If you want to look at the bright side, we're competitive. I mean, we lose by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points every week. The problem is our offense is still at a stall. We have not been very consistent on the offensive side of the ball. And I know that makes a lot of alums, along with fans, very unhappy that we have not been able to generate, because again, the history of Grambling is offense. I mean, that's what I think that Coach Eddie Robinson would always say, hell, we got to give them a show. We got to we got to make people happy in the stands. Well, what made them happy is getting the ball to elite athletes and letting them be prolific on the field. That hasn't happened. Defensively, we are still struggling with, I know I sound like a broken record, but we can't get off the field on crucial downs, mainly third down. We can't get off the field, but we give up big plays at the worst, at critical points of the game. You got guys that whether it's pass interference in the end zone, or it's they run a flea flicker, the guy is 5 to 10 yards behind the safety, and I know it's very frustrating for the fans. I know it's very frustrating for the alums, but our the combination, you and I, we shake our heads at the fact that we have enormous amounts of penalties which affect our offense and our ability to be more proficient on the field. Because if you're always in 15, third and 15, second and 20, I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so many. You can't be more versatile with your run game if you're constantly behind the sticks. And it's, given that and our inability to be better on special teams, it was a special teams nightmare this past game. I mean, everything from snapping the ball over 10 yards over the kicker's head, or I'm sorry, punter's head, or a guy 3 times he brought the ball out the end zone. He was hesitant, then he brought the ball out the end zone, which caused us to one time he did return the ball to the 30-yard line, but the other couple of times he only made it maybe to the 10-yard line, 11. And that is putting our offense at a deficit as well. So what we got to do is figure it out. Now, in terms of coaching, I feel like, Ken, either you have to somewhat change the strategy, or you have to be you have to change the personnel. We've done neither. We just continue to try the same things as if
when you say we haven't changed the personnel, what do you mean we haven't changed the personnel with respect to what?
We need to put a different package out there. Maybe we need maybe we need to go to a 2-back set, and you've heard me say that before, or maybe we need to go under center and try something different, or go too tight end, or do something different with unbalanced lines. There's a host of things. There are a lot of options, because I think we have good players. I just don't necessarily think our strategy has been both offensively and defensively. I don't think our strategy is working.
But Griff, we actually, to that point, I don't know how effective they are, but they have tried some different packages. Now, I think personally, you can maybe make the argument that they probably didn't try them long enough, or maybe I'm so like, okay. For me, and we'll just get into it right now, because were you surprised that Miles Crawley started?
I was shocked, because I thought he was injured. And when he got out there and started hobbling or started limping, literally, I was trying to figure out, okay, well, if we're doing a pass run option, if we're doing the pass rock option read, That's not a read because he can't run the ball at all. So all we can do is give the ball to the dive option. So I mean, you take away one option, and all you have is a run.
I mean, I'd really like to know what the strategy was in starting Miles. Now I didn't necessarily notice any kind of a hobble until he actually, because wasn't it he actually re-injured himself when he actually ran. Didn't he run? And I think that's when he got hit, or was it I'm trying to figure out when was it became clear when he started hobbling again. Was it, did he take a hit?
I'm not sure, but it was early on.
To the extent, right, to the point to where you're like, okay, why are you bringing him out here? And as a result, on that last drive again, it's always down to these last drives. He was trying to make a play, and he threw it away, clearly not being able to put a whole lot of weight on that leg, and it resulted in a pick. And at that point, it was game over.
Over.
I mean, there's so many things to unpack. So, Griff, here's a question, and I have my answer. Spence Matthews, J-State guy, appreciate your viewership, Spence. He's saying, is it the players or is it the coaches? Now, we've asked this question, we've addressed this point periodically during the course of the season, and I think I've seen enough of this up to this point to where it ain't the coaches. I mean, it ain't the players. It's been stated several times, and even at one point, Mickey Joseph addressed this very point, where he was always keeping score, where, how we only lost to our, I think we lost to, was it Alcorn and PV back-to-back weeks? And he goes, we only lost by a combined 4 points. And it was almost as if he was keeping tally. And so, yeah, I mean, when you look at all of the games, we haven't been blown out. We might have been blown out in the second half, where we've allowed teams to come back and they've rallied. They've been able to rally, and they beat us by 2 or 3 points or whatever the case may be. But typically, when you go during the course of the season, you expect the team overall and the players individually to actually get better. To the extent that we've heard those situations, or coach speak, if you will, when they're like referring to a particular freshman player who's had a pretty decent year, and they get towards the later part of the season, and you'll hear a lot of coaches say, yeah, but he's not a freshman anymore. He's not a freshman anymore. So by default, as the season progresses, you expect the players, especially those who've played consistently and periodically during the course of the season, you expect those individuals to improve. And to be quite honest with you, I think there has been a certain element of improvement among the players. But I'm going to tell you now, man, the coaching decisions have been woeful. And so, to answer Spence's question, this is, as far as I'm concerned, has been all about the coaches. I made the comment during after the Bethune-Cookman game, that Eric Dooley, offensive coordinator, and Jason Rollins, defensive coordinator, I thought that the fourth quarter, I said, was the epitome of what the negative stereotypes that's associated with HBCU coaches. The coaching performance during that Bethune-Cookman game during the fourth quarter was that damn bad. It was that bad to where you just simply had to recognize, we know HBCU coaches, there are some coaches who can coach, but that was just how bad the coaching and the decisions made by those coordinators, in my opinion, was. It was that bad to where it literally was the embodiment or emblematic of just of the negative stereotype about how HBCU coaches can't coach. It was that bad. And yet we've consistently seen that during the course. look, as fans, we're going to always question decisions. But look, at some point, I'm going to just simply say this, because I try to be respectful of the fact that these coaches have been doing this for a while. They know. Well, you play, Thomas, but for a person like me, obviously they know a hell of a lot more football than I do. I would just simply say this with respect to Mickey Joseph and what we've seen up to this point. Mickey Joseph, you are the head coach. You obviously know a lot of football, but do not insult the intelligence of these fans, of Grambling fans, those of us. You cannot bring this coaching staff back the same way next year as it is right now. You're going to have to make some changes. So to answer that question, it is the coaching. I don't think it's the players. It's not about talent. Earlier, now granted, I did say earlier in the year, at some point, especially during that PV game, they were talking about Dooley's play calling and so forth. And I personally said, nah, it's not the play calling. It was the lack of execution. I believe there was something to that. But as we've gotten to this point and we're literally in games, winnable games, and then all of a sudden you make questionable calls or you make questionable decisions. So yeah, this has been all on the coaches.
I agree with you. It reminds me, your dialogue on this topic reminds me of something when I was with the Saints organization, and Ricky Jackson, notable All-Pro with the Saints linebacker, came up to me and said, "What's going on, rookie?" I said, he saw that I was distraught about us losing. He came to me and he said, "Let me tell you something. All we can do as players is go out and give maximum effort. It's up to the coaches to put a strategy in place for us to succeed." Well, I feel the same way because when you think about it, Ken, the teams that we play, during the off season when Mickey Joseph came in, the one thing I was sort of excited by, we had gotten some transfers, and we got some kids who had played at LSU or played at other major universities. And I said, well, he's doing a pretty good job of bringing in what I believe were solid players, because these guys had received scholarship offers at major universities. And so I knew that we had some talent in place, but let's be honest, no one that we played thus far has overabundance of talented players where we should be losing these games week in and week out and being dominated second half. What are we doing? Can we go in at halftime where coaches are known to make adjustments, and for whatever reason, they have come out and looked differently, and we have come out and we've looked inept and we haven't improved? It's something's going on with either the strategy or your inability to put the right grouping of athletes in place to do well. If we're being constantly having guys succeed at certain things, where, like, I look at our defensive efforts in the first quarter. We come out, we're dominant.
Yeah.
And we even play well into the second quarter. But let's just take one instance. That decision right before halftime to try to score when we're up 17-3. We came out trying to throw the ball and we're stopping the clock. We had 2 minutes. It was roughly about 2 minutes, maybe 46 seconds. My thing was, why not just run out the clock? But it was a coach's decision. Oh, we need to get another. Dude, we're not that. I mean, we got enough points. Let's just run out. Let's run the ball. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do to basically run out the clock or give the ball over to A&M with only enough time for them to maybe think about. Again, they come out, they advance the ball completely down the field, much like Alabama State did. In 2 or 3 plays, they were literally in field goal range in 3 plays from their own 25.
Exactly right.
That's coaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand.
We saw that during the Bethune-Cookman game on that last drive
we saw it against Alcorn as well.
We saw it against Alcorn, and they won on the field goal. And if we're going to keep it real, even though it happened during the Alabama State game.
Yes.
And the only thing that saved them was a missed field goal.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing. So someone let me see. There was a comment here. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't forget, we also allowed it happen against Texas Southern as well.
They rallied. All those teams rallied. At some point, someone, said here, Sullivan Way Podcast, it says Miles threw a really good ball late in the game, and the receiver just dropped it. It's not all on coaching. Got to make that catch.
There were drops.
Okay. Okay, but here was the thing. You can always pinpoint. I guess he's referring to that was it a 4th down conversion? And I guess it would have been a 1st down, and the player drops the ball. I think that's what he's referring to. You can always point to a play here or there. Yeah, there always are going to be situations where, okay, you got to make that catch, or you got to make that throw, or you got to make that tackle. But when you look at the entire body of work in game after game after game, when you've got enough time, or you've secured a win, or at least it appears that you've secured a win, but for whatever reason, because of a defensive scheme, you're literally playing some a zone in which that middle is just soft, and they're constantly exploiting you in the middle of that zone, and you're not making any adjustments to it. That ain't the players. You are in a situation, and you've got plenty of time, and you've got the entire field, and you've got plenty of time on the clock, and all you got to do with a young, inexperienced quarterback is to just simply make 1st down after 1st down after 1st down, and all you have to do is just focus on getting, if you're going to throw a ball, you're going to need to focus on just throwing for the sticks. But instead, you decide to throw down the field on a fly or some sort of a post route. That's coaching. And then when you finally get in a situation where you do need some chunk yards, and now all of a sudden you decide you want to throw for the sticks, that ain't on the players. The players do what the coaches tell them to do. And I understand there's a fine line between doing what the coach tells you to do and execution. But at some point, you can, you kind of you can't insult the intelligence of everybody. I understand these coaches. Again, I'm trying to be respectful of the coaches and their so-called knowledge of the game. But don't insult us thinking that we don't understand or we don't see what we're seeing. So, yeah, you can always pinpoint, Sullivan, to a particular player too. But when you're literally looking at it, and we just provided you with examples, the Alcorn game, the Alabama State game, the Bethune-Cookman game, the Texas Southern game, and then this game right here. Games that were all very winnable, games in which we had to lead at one point. And you lose it down the stretch because you insist on doing the exact same thing over and over again. You know what they call that? Expecting a different outcome.
Insanity.
It's called insanity.
So where's the adjustment? Are we gonna, from a coaching standpoint, if this guy is not delivering, or he's not fulfilling his obligation at his position, it's up to the coaches to change out the player, give someone else a shot. Okay, that's coaching. Or stop putting those kids in a position. Hey, if they keep throwing over the top, when are we going to go to cover three? When are we going to? I clearly, from a defensive standpoint, I know that some people don't notice this. Our linebackers don't drop. That's why that's why we're always vulnerable over in the middle of the field. And I watched it and I said, well, why are the linebackers not dropping? And if they're not going to drop, wouldn't it be better for us to just blitz the linebackers rather than let the guys sit back there? That is a coaching choice.
Yeah,
they have yet to make they have yet to make the adjustment. Okay.
By the way, this is a person who played linebacker, just so for those of you who don't know. So anyway, go ahead.
So I mean, I've been in when I was at Grambling, I had the benefit of playing in a defense in which we had multiple coverages. We have cover one, we had cover two, we had cover three, which is 3 deep zone. We had cover four, which is with the safeties being on the hash and collisioning. We had cover five, which is man under 2 deep, and we had cover six, which was safeties outside hash, drop straight back with the corners being more shaded towards the inside. So I've seen a lot of different things, but it just doesn't seem like they have all those tools available to the defense. And for the life of me, we give up a lot of chunk plays, which hurt us our ability to get off the field. If we could get off the field, and another thing that hurts the defense, man, when we throw the ball, we've got to think, okay, let's move the pocket. We can either move the pocket or we can choose to go with more, maybe a tight end, put in an additional tight end or additional tackle and try to run the ball more effectively rather than have 4 small receivers in that don't have the ability to get downfield and block. So, the strategy has to be changed. I'm not saying go away from what I'm saying put personnel in the game, which is a coaching move, which is strategy that will give you the best opportunity to be successful if you feel like. Now, Ken, let's not one of the things that hurt us that we haven't taken note of, we played 3 running backs and almost simultaneously all 3 fumbled upon touching the ball. And that hurt us. That hurt us that
I think we fumbled. There were 4 fumbles and we only lost one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So they were able to recover.
But on one of those fumbles, the running back broke into the secondary, and if he had not fumbled the ball, it was a touchdown.
It was a 6.
He was actually gonna score. So, I'm glad we were able to recover 2 out of the 3, but we're just, it's little things that's keeping us from being the attention to detail. I never understood why Coach Robinson would make us do stuff over and over and over and over and over in these practices would be 3 hours. And then he would want to come back at night and do the same thing because he wanted, I think Eddie Robinson or Coach Robinson was more of a perfectionist, and he understood that it's if everybody doesn't do, in order to be successful, everybody had a job to do and they had to do it consistently. We've been inconsistent on offense. We've been a little inconsistent on defense, and it has caused us to lose a lot of close games.
Yeah. I think if you point to anything, it's been our inability to score points, completely, inability to score points quickly. And it's just, if I have to wait, defensively, the defense has done a better job throughout the course of the season. Granted, you can always point to those holes. Like you said, we give up those big plays, especially when opposing teams know that they need to get points or they need to get those chunk yards. And some way, somehow they're able to do it. And for whatever reason, it appears as if we're just kind of like a deer in headlights because we don't know what to do, and they exploit that, and they're able to put themselves in a position to take advantage of that. But it has been most important, for the most part, our inability to score points on offense, whether it be just completely or even quickly in certain situations. That's just, that hasn't been to our benefit. I want to get to this point because we talked about this earlier. Jeremy Brackens, when we talked about this, this is 15 penalties for 134 yards. 15 penalties for 134 yards. And the reason why I say that is because Joshua Henley says, what about the refs not calling none of the holding calls in Alabama? Look, man, you can always make a case for what the refs aren't calling. But when you have 15 penalties, and they really are penalties, that's problematic. And this is not the first time we've addressed this. I already know what your philosophy is on this, Thomas, but address it again.
Penalties,
15 penalties, 134 yards, man.
It is basically preventing us from being more proficient on offense when you're always in 2nd and 15, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 20. It really does stifle any chance at being more successful as an offense, because good teams love being in 2nd and short, 3rd and short, because it gives them the option to play action pass. It gives them the option to run the ball. You cannot really, your chances of being successful 3rd and 20 are really difficult, and it makes you try things. It makes quarterbacks throw into when the defense knows you have to pass, they're more likely to be in a position to jump routes or to be more aggressive.
Right.
And stop you. So that's what's also has plagued us. And again, either we need to come. How do we make when a coach is going to make the adjustment? Maybe we need to give somebody a different opportunity. If you got someone that is constantly not adhering to what you're trying to do offensively, then try someone else, or put a different try a different group of personnel. That's how I feel about it. And I don't believe, Ken, that we can be successful with that amount of penalties every other game or every game. There's just no way we can be successful.
You know what? Someone just made that, and I'm trying to confirm something. Someone said, and this is right on point. Great observation, great post, VD. More penalties than first downs. We had 12 first downs.
Yes.
15 penalties.
That's what prevents you from getting first downs. The penalties. Being in 3rd and 20 is literally it's impossible. Almost, the percentage is probably less than 5% that you're going to get a first.
That's just incredible. That is that is just absolutely incredible.
And it's been now that has been consistent, because you and I get on here and we talk about the penalties every week. We're talking about the penalties, and it hurts, and we're losing close games based on penalties and our inability to get off the field on 3rd down, and a lack of lack of creativity and production on offense. That sums up the whole season.
So that was that game. And I want to bring this up. So I want to provide, I want to present a visual. Look where we are right now.
Dead last.
We're dead last. Once again, we kind of catapulted a little bit after that win against Alabama State. We were kind of like, third or fourth, but now we have sole position once again of last place. And given where we are right now, 5-6, here is, I don't know if I'm not going to say it's good news and it's bad news, but here is one thing that has been assured with only one game left to play. At 5-6, we have guaranteed ourselves of a non-winning season. Currently, we have a losing season with 5-6. If you beat Southern in the Bayou Classic, you finish at 6-6, and you've assured yourself of a non-winning season as well as a non-losing season officially. So congratulations. Well, not congratulations, but losing to A&M on Thursday assured Grambling of a non-winning season. Now, whether or not this is a losing season remains to be seen. But that's where we are right now. Also, and I'm just going to pivot a little bit. I'm showing this because I want to give folks an idea of where things stand right now as we prepare for this Saturday of games, in which obviously we see Jackson State right now in SWAC East at 6-0. They play Alabama State today. And quite simply, Jackson State wins today, they clinch. And they will represent the East. If for whatever reason, I think if remember, Alabama State still has a chance in which they beat Jackson State. And then, of course, they would need Jackson State to lose to Alcorn. And I think they would, obviously, they would be able to go, I think, with head-to-head matchup, if I'm not mistaken. So Alabama State, if they win this and they still give themselves a chance, and then at that point, they would have to wait for the outcome of the Jackson State Alcorn game, of which if Jackson State loses to Alabama State, then I think Jackson State loses to Alcorn State, Alabama State would go. And so that game is still a big game for today. In the West, Southern wins and Southern wins and they're pretty much in.
Correct.
I want to make sure because they've beaten Alcorn, they've beaten Prairie View. They pretty much just you've just got to win it. So we could potentially looking at a SWAC championship game that would feature Jackson State and Southern, and given the win-loss records, that game would be played at the Vet in Jackson, Mississippi on December 7th. Followed by the Celebration Bowl game on the December 14th. What do you make of the slate of games for this week, Thomas?
Again, most, if not all, the teams, for the exception of maybe Mississippi Valley and Bethune-Cookman, and even they've been competitive. There's an opportunity. If you do not play well, you will not win. The good thing about Jackson State, they've been, since the loss to Grambling, they've been very consistent. They've played well enough on offense, although I'm not sold on their quarterback.
Who?
I do know that defensively.
You talking about Southern?
Jackson.
Jackson. Okay.
Jackson State, I'm not sold on their quarterback. He's okay, but they are good enough defensively, and they do have talented running backs, and they're capable of, if they should against Alabama State, they should, if they take care of business, They will be rock solid as the favorite going into the conference championship. Southern needs a couple of things to happen for them to get. They seem to be playing well defensively, but what they have to do is take care of the football and continue to get consistent play at the quarterback position as well. Um, in terms of the other teams that really they're looking for, I don't mathematically, Southern would need to lose twice in order for Alcorn, and Alcorn would have to win out in order for them to leapfrog Southern. But I don't see that happening.
Well, I don't know, but what I'm saying is at 5-1. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So Southern they play Alcorn today. No, who does Southern play? Who does Southern play today? Does Southern play today?
I'm not sure. They have to play somebody. I don't think they have back-to-back weeks off. I think they have next week off against.
Oh, they play UAPB. I'm tripping. Yeah, they play UAPB.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah, they play UAPB. And pretty much, I mean, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
But
well, like you said, I didn't realize that. So basically, there's no mathematical chance for Alcorn to beat. Alcorn has one SWAC team remaining, and that's Grambling State University. And what that also means is that they need for Southern to lose to Grambling
twice, right?
Twice, and we're only playing once.
Right. So here's okay. So we didn't get an official scenarios, but just looking at this is, and you guys in the chat, feel free to correct me because I'm tripping. Southern is at 5-1. They hold a head-to-head over Alcorn and Prairie View. Okay. If Southern loses today, which is unlikely against a UAPB, they would be at 5-2. All right. Alcorn State, do they play today? I don't know. Who does Alcorn State? Anyone? Are they off until next week? You can look at the schedule. Because I want to make sure I get the scenarios right on this.
They still hold the tiebreaker against Alcorn and Prairie View.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Alcorn plays PV today. Okay.
Yes.
So Alcorn plays PV.
Yes.
So Alcorn wins. This just scenarios. So just if Southern loses to UAPB, they'd be 5-2. If Alcorn State beats Prairie View, they would be 5-2.
Yes.
All right. Southern holds the head of Alcorn.
Yes.
If Southern loses the Bayou Classic and Alcorn beats Jackson State, Alcorn represents the West. Because at that point, Southern would be 5-3. Alcorn would be 5-2. So
highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. But I will say this.
Have happened.
That's true. UAPB's got a quarterback and a wide receiver who, if they're in the groove, they can be difference makers.
Yes.
In Southern's season, and I say this respectfully, because I believe me, I take their season over ours. Their season has been a nothing but ugly wins. I think they played 2 or 3 overtime games this year. They had overtime against PV. They had overtime against Texas Southern. They've had and had overtime against Bethune-Cookman. And their quarterback play has been just as bad, if not worse than ours, because they've been playing musical chairs for quarterbacks too. But they've been able to put themselves in a position to where, they pretty much all they got to do is just win out. But I say all that to say, if for whatever reason Southern does lose this week, and Alcorn does win this week or today, and Southern needs to win the Bayou Classic, oh my goodness. And Grambling has an opportunity to play spoiler. That could be quite an interesting scenario. So anyway.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts as we obviously we're off today. We have a bye week. Your final thoughts about whatever, whether it be the game, whether it be the season, or whatever the case may be.
I would like to see, Ken, is for Grambling going into the Bayou Classic. One, get healthy. Hopefully they take this time to get healthy. Two, I would love to see the coaches develop a strategy to put the kids in a better position to succeed in the Bayou Classic. And I would like to see Grambling come out and just throw the kitchen sink at Southern. Use whatever grouping of personnel, whatever play calling, whatever strategy we need to do defensively to just get to be more proficient out there and just show us that the potential on next year is bright and that we are going into next year with an opportunity to challenge, because 2016 seems like a long time ago, and it is when you think about it. I mean, 2016 has been a minute, and what our expectations
You
as
talking about
fans,
as far as winning? You talking about as far as winning? Well, actually, 2017.
Okay,
we went to the celebration. We went to the celebration. We won. What? We won 2016, lost in 2017 against A&T. But I'm just simply saying. But that was a good season as well.
Yeah, well, 2017, but 2016 was our last championship year, and right. I really feel, man, that we're right there on the precipice of being a team that should be in the SWAC championship, that maybe can get to Atlanta and win it all again. We would love. The expectation at Grambling, football wise, is always that we should be in the hunt, and we haven't been in the hunt, and there are a couple of things that are preventing us from getting there. We just feel like those things will manifest itself so that we can have greater success and become the team that we know we can be and have been. We have tradition of being that team. So we hope. I really want to see Mickey Joseph do well. I want to see his.
We all do.
These kids be more successful, and I hope we can put it together so that we can have because when everything tastes better and you have a better holiday when Grambling wins. If not, man, it's a level of frustration and depression that comes about when we don't do well against Southern. Not to mention when you lose to Southern, man, they don't let up. They remind you that they are the Bayou Classic champions, and that's not what any of us want to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna show this comment by Kiana F. She said, "Don't quote me, but I feel like we will win the Bayou Classic." I think that every single game, maybe with the exception of Louisiana game, seriously, every single game, and I do mean every single game, with the exception of Louisiana Lafayette, or whatever they call themselves these days, Louisiana, has been a winnable game.
Yes.
Every single game that we won, maybe with the exception of the Jackson State game, has been a losable game.
Yes.
Just given what we've displayed, given what we've seen with Southern, yes, the Bayou Classic is very winnable. But here is what, like I said, for you Grambling folks, an ideal situation would be for Southern to lose today, which is not likely, but it is possible because anything is possible in the SWAC. I mean, hell, we didn't think we'd lose to Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
But we did. We actually struggled for a little bit against UAPB when we played them earlier this year.
Yes.
So it is possible.
It's possible. Right?
So ideally, for you Grambling folks, this is what you want to see. Because, you know, I've made this comment about how it would be nice to make the Bayou Classic great again. And the only reason why I say that is because whenever either one of the teams or both of the teams have something to play for, if there's like, you know, championship implications involved, whether it be us or them or whatever the case may be, it's always made a very interesting dynamic. Because if one team pretty much is just playing for pride and the other team has had a pretty decent season and all they got to do is just win that one game or they're out. And we've seen this happen before. You know, there's that mentality where, you know what, if we can't go to the SWAC championship game, then damn it, you can't go either. So here is what you want to see. You want Southern to lose to UAPB, and you want Alcorn to beat Prairie View. That's what you want in order for the Bayou Classic to really be special. Because if Southern loses and Alcorn loses, Southern clinches. Because at that point, head to head, it doesn't matter. So you want a Southern loss and an Alcorn win. That's literally what it comes down to. That's what you want if you want the Bayou Classic to have just a little special to it, because then Grambling would find itself in a situation where Southern has to win that game. And Southern would have to win that game in order to go to the SWAC championship game, and it would be oh so beautiful for Grambling to spoil that. But you know, but anyway, look some of these comments. What's this? VD, I don't hate Southern. I'll go for the other Louisiana team. Jackson will beat them again, anyways. Well, look, I don't hate anybody either. I'm just simply saying that. You know, for purposes of the Bayou Classic, you know, I'm never gonna want Southern to win the Bayou Classic, but I'm just saying, if Southern's got to win that game in order to get the SWAC championship game, it would be a great thing to play spoiler in a situation like that. So anyway, Griff, I appreciate you again, brother. You have provided us with interesting analysis as always, folks. For those of you who are watching, by all means, look, we're growing. We're trying to grow this thing, and as football season comes to an end, and as we transition into basketball season, because I'm telling you now, the future looks very bright with basketball. I don't know if you've seen the men and women, but there is a promising future with basketball. I've jokingly made the comment that it's unfortunate, but the Grambling is slowly but surely becoming a basketball school. But, you know, if you saw that game against Ole Miss, there was a lot of promise there with respect to hoops. So I'm looking forward to hoops this upcoming season. So, but yeah, go to the 1901podcast.com, make a donation to support the channel. Also, enter your email address and subscribe to the newsletter. And look, man, we're going to grow this thing. And like I said, this isn't just going to be sports oriented. We've got some great plans with respect to the podcast and how we're going to utilize it to promote and discuss all things Grambling. So for Thomas Griffin, I'm Ken Rashad. This is the 1901 podcast. We hope that you guys enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your football games, enjoy your tailgating. If you're traveling, we ask that you get to your destination and back home safely and soundly. And then until next time, God bless you.